We're continuing with review exercises for Chapter 1. These are the problems from 1.4. This is Part 1. So, if P is a positive number and N is a negative number, and they're not opposites, fill in the blanks with the words positive or negative. So what you want to think about here is if you have trouble with this, pick a number for P that's positive and pick a number for N that is negative, and see what happens if you do each of these things, whether the answer is positive or negative. So number 1 says negative P is so basically you have to read that as the opposite of a positive number is that should be a negative number. Now, for instance, you could let P equal 2 and N equal negative 4 just to get an idea that this would be true. So if you had a minus in front of the P, you'd have negative P, you'd have negative 2. All right, how about negative N? Well, that's really saying the opposite of a negative number. So if N was negative 4, the opposite of that would be positive number. So this will be positive. All right, let's do number 3. P plus P. Well, that's really saying 2P the way I wrote this. So basically, if you're adding two positive numbers, you'll still get a positive number, as in 2 plus 2. These are in general, no matter what the values are that are positive or negative that you plug in. What's a negative plus a negative? That's still going to be negative. That's like you're going more in the hole, right? So that'll be a negative number. All right. Number 5, 6, 7, and 8, notice those are all absolute values. But when you have the absolute value of anything, the answer is never negative. So it could be 0 or positive. But I've told you that these numbers P and N are not 0 because I've said they're either a negative or positive number. So none of these absolute values will be 0. Number 7 is the only one that's a little tricky. P plus N. If they were opposites, that would add to 0, but I said they're not opposites. So none of these numbers will be 0, and no matter what they are, when you take the absolute value of them, I'm talking about the insides, when you take the absolute value of it, you'll get a positive number no matter what. So all the rest of them are going to be positive because you're taking the absolute value of something. So these are concept problems. Understanding the concept of positive and negative numbers and absolute value. And you could go through each of these last 4 individually and plug in numbers like 2 for P and negative 4 for N, and you should still end up with either a positive or negative number as it's listed here. All right, we're going on to 1.5, Part 1. Write each phrase in an expression, as an expression, and simplify. Subtract negative 6 from negative 11. So it's a subtraction problem. So the first thing you want to do is write a minus sign for subtraction. And you're subtracting negative 6 from negative 11. So you have to start with negative 11. And then we're going to subtract negative 6. So that's how to write that expression. Negative 11 minus a negative 6. So what does that end up being? Negative 11 plus 6, right? The subtracting a negative is adding a positive. And negative 11 plus 6, you're adding a positive and a negative number here. The negatives outweigh the positive, so it's going to be negative. And if they're opposites like this, you just take their difference. 11 minus 6 is 5. So the answer to this problem would be negative 5. That's the simplified answer. Okay, this is a little bit different. It says decrease negative 15 by 13. So this means we're going to start off with negative 15. And then we're going to decrease it, which means you're going to take away something, and I'm taking away 13 from it. So we've got negative 15 minus 13. So remember what this means. That means negative 15 plus a negative 13. If you want to think about it as adding two negatives. So the answer is going to be negative when you add two negatives. So you have 15 plus 13 is negative 28. So negative 15 minus 13 is how to write the expression, and when you simplify it, you get negative 28. Okay, we are still on 1.5. We're doing part 2, simplify each expression. So we have to use the order of operations. The difference is from 1.3 we didn't have the positive and negative numbers mixed together. Now we do. So we still have to do inside parentheses first. Do not do 4 minus 6. So we copy up to that point. And we're going to do inside the parentheses. Now, on the side you could do this 3 minus 10 as, remember what 3 minus 10 means? It means 3 plus negative 10. So you're adding a negative and a positive, so the answer is going to be negative 7. So that's what goes in the parentheses here. You could write that over here, or you could do it in your head, or you could do it side work. Okay, next step. We've done inside parentheses, so next you look to see if there are any exponents, but there aren't any. And so the next thing would be any multiplication or division. Again, do not do the 4 minus 6. So we have a 6 times negative 7. Really, you could think of this as a negative 6 times negative 7, or you could think of it as a minus 6 times negative 7. But you do have this multiplication here. So what I'm going to do is write this. I'm going to keep this minus sign here and think of it as 6 times negative 7. So 6 times negative 7 is negative 42, right? Some of you may have just gone to 4 plus 42, realizing the negative and a negative eventually when you multiply will be a positive, which is the next step here. 4 plus 42. So the answer is 46. All right, the next problem to simplify is 5 squared minus 6 squared plus 2. Again, using the order of operation. There are no parentheses. Next, you look for exponents, and we have 5 squared. We also have 6 squared. So we do both of those. 5 squared is 5 times 5, so that's 25. 6 squared is 36. Then we have plus 2. And here's where a lot of people make their mistake. They do 36 plus 2 next. No, 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 no. Since there's only addition and subtraction, you go from left to right. So first I have to do 25 minus 36. Now, you could rewrite that as 25 plus a negative 36. And then add 2, and then I just have addition, which you can go left to right, or you could add the 25 and 2 first, any way you want to do it. So if I add 25 to negative 36, there's more negatives, right? So I have a negative, and then you would subtract 36 minus 25 is 11. So that's negative 11 for the adding 25 plus negative 36. And then I still have the plus 2. And I'm still adding a negative 11 to a positive 2, so I still have the answer being negative, and subtract again negative 9. Some of you may have added the 25 and 2 first. So if you did that, if you added the 25 and 2 first, remember, because of the commutative property, you could do that. You could say 27 plus negative 36. And that's also going to be negative 9. So in any case, negative 9 is the answer.